Is time an illusion? Is time an illusion? Is that why it seems to take so long? My name is Mr. 2020. You are listening to the Power of Imagination podcast, where we explore one thing and one thing only, the wonder-working power of the human imagination. Neville Goddard called it Jesus Christ for a reason. Within the name of Jesus Christ, there's the fire that consumes the old and the eye that sees anew. That sees rightly, that sees from your chosen state. But anyway, let's dive in. Is time an illusion? I got an email this morning. God, what a busy morning it's been. We just kicked off manifestingmasterydeluxe.com. And the doors close Sunday. If you hear this before Sunday, click, join, have a lot of fun. But I seem to digress because in my busy morning, I only had one major speed bump. Oh, God, right? Bumped me for about 4 seconds. That's all. But here's the deal, guys. Is time an illusion? And I get the email. It says, Dear Mr. 2020, since time is an illusion, I don't understand why it's taking so long. And I write back. I said, wow, how do you know? How do you know it's taking so long? And how do you know time's an illusion? And they said, well, didn't Neville teach that? And I write back again. I said, show me. And of course, yeah, I heard that he taught that. Okay, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. And so then he writes back, well, did Neville say time was an illusion or not? I love this part. Because I write back, in order for me to answer that question, did Neville ever say time was an illusion or not? I'd have to know everything he said in his entire life. As far as I can tell, see, here's what I do. I actually look up Neville Goddard quotes. Not a lot, but I've got this thing called a Kindle and this other thing called the internet. And I go on the internet and the Kindle and I look shit up. And it only takes a few seconds. And here's what I notice. I think I'm right. I don't want to be right. I just want to be happy, but I think I'm right. You make up time. And you make time for what you feel is priority. Ooh, isn't that cool? Years ago, I used to send shit around the world. I actually made videotapes and cassette tapes. I'm 59, I'm that old. And I got online sharing cool shit by sending tapes around the world. And I would always send them priority mail because it was only $11 and it was easily trackable and it actually got to where it was going. And so, priority. You want to know what you're really imagining? Notice what your priority is. My priority is to teach right now. That's my priority. By the way, I was told that there are no such things, that there's no plural word for priorities, or that priorities isn't an actual word. But anyway, that might be worth wasting a moment looking up too, while you're noticing what did Neville Goddard teach and what do you actually do when it comes to time. You see, Neville taught that you can stop time, that you create time for what you want in life. And you do that by living from a space. He calls it your dwelling place. And here's what's really, really cool. And notice a lot of the New Age fluff bunnies don't teach this. Neville Goddard said, the state that you most commonly return to is your dwelling place. And I go, wow, on our property, we've got the main mud brick mansion. We've got the lovely little cottage out in the back where the hippies squatted and built a house out of mud on public land. And then they petitioned the government 10 years for the whole valley, and they got it. Worth something like $10-12 million now. If they got $10 to $12 million for free by imagining something, but I digress. And we bought a chunk of it. And so we've got the main house, we've got the original little cottage that's historical, and we've got the she shed that Victoria and Raymond built. God, it's gorgeous. She puts all of her shit in there. The she shed full of her shit. I love it. But I also seem to digress. But we've got 3 spaces on the property. I've got 3 spaces in my life. Happy loving husband, happy loving teacher, happy loving puppy dad, and also now Kung Fu fighter. Oof. Everybody was Kung Fu fighting. Last 18 months of my life, I feel like I'm reborn. I entered into a state. And here's the cool thing, ready? Actual desires will have you on fire. Actual desires, Neville says, contain their own plan and their own power of fulfillment. Shit that you think you might like because it might solve a problem, or think that would be good, that would make life less complicated because you think it would. Those aren't desires. You can hear the difference. You can feel the difference. Anyway, I'm nuts about my wife. I'm nuts about my puppies. I'm nuts about teaching. I'm nuts about Kung Fu. I think that's another way to tell if you're having the time of your life, because you create time. And more importantly, you create if you're having the adventure of a lifetime. In other words, you get to realize, you get to stop resisting that you are God having the adventure of a lifetime. You are how God has the adventure of a lifetime. Or you can believe that you're just a little piece of bullshit, that you're determined by genetics. I love that one. But Mr. 20, it's all genetic, right? Well, there's this thing called epigenetics now. Science is always playing catch up with the mystic. What you actually experience turns genes on and off, apparently. It changes the expression of those little genes things, right? The genetics, the chromosomes. Anyway, you can keep worshiping things, or you can notice. By the way, do you know what saying time is an illusion means? That you're worshiping it. Swear to God, think about it. If time was an illusion, and you can't control that illusion, and you have to deny that illusion, you're letting time control you. You're worshiping it. You're a worship against time. Anyway, that's me being clever with words in a world where most people just want to be clever with thinking. And I just invite you to be on fire with desire. So my name is Mr. 2020. You are listening to the Power of Imagination podcast, where we explore one thing and one thing only: the wonder-working power of the human imagination. It's almost sunrise. My birds are singing their sacred songs. So let's imagine up something yummy as we go into the silence. All right, 2 actual Neville Goddard quotes. Ready? The present moment is all important, for it is the only in the present moment that our assumptions can be controlled. The future must become the present in your mind if you would wisely operate the law of assumption. Neville says, the very moment my claim is established to the point of conviction. Oh, the very moment. There's magic in moments. We've done some yummy live calls on that. That moment, I begin to draw unto myself the evidence of my claim. Let's do one more, shall we? Now is the acceptable time to give beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, praise for the spirit of heaviness. Let's see. Shall we do one more? That's my message tonight. Time to act. Many of us think we have broken with the old habits of thought and belief, and yet these old things still determine our conduct. Action tests belief. Do you really want to know what state you're in? Notice what you do. Identity leads activity. And what the hell? Join us in manifestingmasterydeluxe.com if it's available. If not, drop me a note. I can tell you some other things you might want to dive into to transform your life. Or do it all on your own. That'll do it, right? Just listen to what people say. Didn't Neville say time was an illusion? Yeah. You know what happens? The same people that tell me that tell me, well, the 3D world is an illusion. And I always say, all right, let's assume you're correct. Send me your iPhone. That iPhone that your email always is sent with, my coveted iPhone. Send it to me. And while you're at it, give me $10,000 of that money you say is an illusion too. You see, they never do. They never do. Because they honestly don't believe their own bullshit. Neville Goddard says your faith in God is measured by your confidence in you. He says to believe in the reality of your imaginal act. And I invite you to believe in you. Stop doubting your divinity. Start enjoying your humanity. My name is Mr. 2020. You've been listening to the Power of Imagination podcast. Sharing is caring. Drop me a note. I'd love to hear from you. Have a great day. See ya.